I made Scientific Magic Chapter 9, White Phosphorus Fire and Spell Slots. Chapter 9 White Phosphorus Fire and Spell Slots. Lin concentrated on evacuating the air around the red phosphorus as much as possible, while using the principle of accelerating molecular motion to increase the temperature. After more than 10 seconds, wisps of white mist drifted out, gathered together under the constraints of magic power, and then quickly cooled down and solidified into a mass of translucent yellow powder. This is white phosphorus. Knowing the horror of this thing, Lin didn't dare to touch it with his hands. He held his breath and maintained the mage's hand all the way, and put the collected white phosphorus into the bag that originally contained the red fire embers. This kind of storage bag specially used to store magic materials has a good insulation effect and can effectively prevent white phosphorus from spontaneously igniting suddenly. After doing all this, fine beads of sweat appeared on Lin's forehead. Completing such a cumbersome process is somewhat reluctant for Lin, who is still a wizard apprentice. If it wasn't for the spiritual fusion that greatly improved his control over magic power during time travel, I am afraid that this attempt will only end in failure. Fortunately, everything went as he expected. Lin put the storage bag away, recalling the terrifying scene in his memory of the raging fire ignited by white phosphorus burning the earth. He couldn't help but shudder. I just hope I don't have to use it. As a common man who grew up in a peaceful era, Lin still has war for life, but he also knows that in this different world where human life is like a mustard, in order to protect himself, he can only die as a fellow Taoist rather than a poor man. 071. After doing all this, Lin silently shouted in his heart. Since the brain was forced to shut down 5 days ago, this has become his daily routine. Obviously, this time, there was no response. If it weren't for the magic power in the body that was slowly draining to supply the energy for the brain, Lin would have wondered if 071 had completely disappeared. Intelligent brain is an important reliance for him to survive in this strange world. Just connecting to the neural network and being able to greatly improve his thinking ability is enough to get him out of many crises. Not to mention that in that special state, he was able to convert magic power into elements, and complete the release of magic without preparing materials in advance. Thinking of the sight of his mentor Kelu casting the second ring magic, group Iceblade, Lin had a vague guess in his heart. Whether he can transform elements with magic power may be the key to distinguishing wizard apprentices from formal wizards. He was very sure that Carl, as an apprentice, would never be able to do this, and he didn't have any relevant memories in his brain. Most likely, he had mental fusion after time travel, coupled with the help of his intellectual brain, that allowed him to break through this momentarily. Layers of shackles. Lin pondered and entered meditation, and the extremely magical world of elements appeared in front of his eyes again. But at this moment, Lin's attention has been focused on the strange rune suspended in the sea of consciousness. The inside of the strange rune is countless tiny dots and lines, arranged together in a very special way, which looks exquisite and full of beauty. Lin tentatively touched it with mental power, and the rune instantly lit up. Immediately afterwards, Lin noticed that the magic power in his body had decreased by 1/10 at this moment. When he opened his eyes, a diamond-shaped ice blade appeared in his palm. This is a bit like a spell slot. Lin touched his chin, and quickly thought of the spell slot mentioned in the elemental analysis. This is also an ability only available to official wizards, and it can greatly increase the casting speed. In general, the process of constructing spell slots is a bit like the programming work of the previous life. Various parameters are set in advance, and then the results can be exported immediately by pressing the confirm button when needed. So the arrangement of the runes probably refers to 1 equal part of oxygen plus 2 equal parts of hydrogen plus slowing down the movement speed of molecules plus special configuration equals ice blade. Well, I have to say, this is very scientific. Lin tried several other spells with great interest, but unexpectedly, no new spell slots were formed. After thinking about it, Lin quickly guessed the reason. To construct the corresponding spell slot, I am afraid that it is necessary to perform a complete cast of one ring magic at a time without using spell casting materials. Thinking of this, Lin had no choice but to temporarily give up his plan to continue to solidify the spell position. Without the blessing of the auxiliary brain, there is still a big gap between him and the official wizard. Lin looked up at the sky outside. Probably it was time to meet those wizard apprentices. Today is Lunar Day and the last day of the promise. Drunkard, the tavern is located in the most prosperous area of your town. If it wasn't for following the secret sign all the way, Lin would never have imagined that Johnny would choose this meeting place. And 17 coppers are exactly the price of a glass of guro wine. Is this considered dark under the lights? Lin secretly complained in his heart, but he frowned as soon as he opened the door. As a gathering place for the lower classes, the interior of the drunkard tavern is very lively. The rising stove dissipates the cold wind at night, and the space of less than 100 square meters is packed to the brim. The wooden floor is full of wine stains and vomit. A strong fishy smell almost choked Lin to death. On the long table at the entrance of the tavern, a drunken halfling saw Lin entering the door at a glance. Seeing that he was young and unfamiliar, he yelled maliciously, "Boy, why don't you come and have a drink together?" Lin turned his head and looked at the drunken halfling with probing eyes. Halflings are a species unique to this continent. The reason why they are called this is not because they only have half of their body, but because they are short in size, about half the height of an adult, like a dwarf. However, these people are not the product of genetic defects, but another ethnic group. The halflings are all powerful, and their muscles seem to be bestowed by nature, a bit like the dwarves in the previous Western fantasy works. I just don't know what the body structure and genetic composition of these halflings are like, and how they are different from humans. Lin's instinct as a data storage staff is just around the corner. Under Lin's probing gaze, the drunken halfling shivered involuntarily, feeling a chill rushing from the soles of his feet to his heart. 5 years ago, in Nordland, he had a meeting with the notorious headcutter Luke. That is a vicious thug, with a great love for dismembering people to pieces. Lin's gaze is very similar to that of Luke at that time. In the eyes of the other party, he seems to be a corpse waiting to be dissected. End of this